Hello guys, today we will take a look at a very interesting night scope for VSS sniper rifle caliber 9x39. So as you probably know, this is for the most modern version of VSS Vintorez, basically meaning VSS modernized. So the designation is 1PN141-2. When you have the dash 2, the logic question is what is the dash 1? The dash 1 is exactly the same scope, only the reticle it's calibrated for 762x54R. And that scope is supposed to be used on SVD, SVDM and SV98 sniper rifles. So both being sniper rifles, the VSS and also the Dragunovs, that means that this is basically the highest quality optic that MPC currently produce. Also, the intensifier tube inside is generation 3. Basically, most of the tubes that are in the army models are generation 3 by now, but on the market they were usually split in the past between 2+ generation and 3 generation. But especially on those sniper scopes, it's always generation 3 and always the highest quality tubes. This scope was accepted to the armament of Russian army around 2018 together with the VSSM rifle and also with the 1P86 day scope again for 9x39 caliber. Let's get some dry information out of the way. This is passive night vision scope. As you know, some of the earlier generation actually needed IR illuminator. This one, no, it doesn't even have one. The magnification is by the documentation no less than 3.8 power. So you can count anywhere between 3.8 power till 4 power magnification. The magnification can be actually set, it's fixed. The only thing that you can really adjust, it's the dioptries correction. It's ±3 dioptries, so actually very generous setting and very smooth operation. The power source, it's single AA battery that it's in compartment right here. On single AA battery, it can operate in the plus temperatures going from 0 degrees Celsius till plus 50 degrees Celsius up to 12 hours. And going in the minus temperatures, it can go from 0 till -40 and operate for 3 hours in this range on single AA battery. The total weight of the scope is around 1.1 kilograms. By the documentation, you can recognize man-sized target up to 500 meters in a night. Also, this scope is auto-gated, so there is no manual adjustable gain. Also, it has protection against light, so basically when there is too much ambient light or when you turn it on during a day without the cap at the end, it basically automatically shut off to prevent the damage to the tube inside. Now we will just go briefly through the features. So here we have the daytime cap. It's absolutely no problem to fire this scope during a day. Of course, the picture is not exactly the greatest thanks to the filter, but it's absolutely doable to shoot accurately during a day, and that's actually how I'm doing my zeroing. It's just with the day cap, turn it on 0 during a day, and then in the night you just shoot normally. Then from the controls, here you have the power knob. So basically this is the offsetting. When you turn it just a little bit, it just turns on and you can't see the reticle. That's great for observation. When you actually want to shoot or want to see the reticle, for example for the rangefinder, you just go all the way up and the reticle becomes the brightest on this setting. When, for example, the reticle is actually too bright, you just dial it down a little bit and that's it. Right guys, so now we're taking a look pretty much into the forest. You can see very nicely the reticle. Here we're taking a look at trees that are approximately 20 meters away, something like that, I would guess, I would assume. This is just for you to check the quality of the picture. Of course, here bush very much in front of me, of course, is not in focus since it's fixed on this device, right? So this is how the Gen 3 tube looks. Also, we will try to make the reticle a bit more bright, like so. And then dim it down. This is how it looks on the lowest setting. When it's on and you don't pretty much see reticle, you can just observe nicely. Then let's say that you see the target, put on the reticle, place it on the tree over there, for example, and pull the trigger. Then, very specific for the 1PN141 models are the exposed turrets, because this is sniper scope. So you also have the witness marks right here. So you can actually zero the turrets. You basically do your zeroing, whatever. Then you just untied these two screws. And then you just line the arrows together. So then when you need to do some fine adjustments during firing, for example, you have number 2 or you correcting for yourself, you can make the little adjustments and you know exactly where you are or what correction did you make. Then you have the rubber eyepiece that is actually removable. For example, when you're actually using ballistic glasses, you can remove it, no problem. And then, as I mentioned, the day cap that go on side like so. And here you can see the front lens. Another interesting feature, since it's for VSSM, it actually using rail, because that version of Vintorez using a top rail, not a side mount. So for that we have this type of mount with a recoil lock. Also we have the designation ASM VSSM. But it's the same 4-bolt standard like on the entire 1PN series of scopes. So also you can use your side mount without any problem. You just undo the screws, put it on, and then you put it on VSS Vintorez without any problem. Just keep in mind that the optic will be actually offset from the center axis. As it's typical for VSS Vintorez scopes in general, even the PSO, sometimes the models are actually offset, so no real problem there. The indexing of the turrets, it's very positive. You can even hear the clicks and it's very readable, so absolutely no problem there. Here you adjusting your elevation. Here on the side you adjusting your windage. So that just for comparison, this is picture through 2 Plus Photonis Echo 16mm tube, 2000 foam, and as you can see in the tall forest, these 2 Plus generation tube have real problem. So this is the baseline for this night, and now we will go check 1PN141. Of course we have the magnification here, so that's just something to keep in mind, but I think that it's kind of evident the level of the detail that the generation 3 tube provides. Here again you can see road, not too long forward, and here we go. Here we have some ambient light. The trees are, let's say, 50 meters in front of me, and all of the sudden the picture is really good. Now I will just dial up a little bit the reticle all the way up. This is the brightest, but of course the phone that I'm shooting on is adjusting. Now I go lower and lower until it almost disappears. This is the setting just for observing. So guys, let's get a few things out of the way. One of the most interesting features, in my opinion, on this optic, but also on the 1P86, which is also for the VSSM. It's basically the same modernization kit together with the rifles. This is the daytime scope, this is the nighttime scope. Anyway, both of those using exactly the same reticle, and the reticle is actually quite interesting in my opinion, because it's unusual reticle for unusual rifle. So this is what you would see in the scope on the fixed 4 power magnification. In the 1P86 you can actually go 1 power, then actually all of this doesn't work. So this is your reticle, this is like the circle what you see in the scope. Then we have this dot in the middle with these 2 hash marks. And now we will be just talking about the differences in the distances. Because you can see that the drops are actually quite huge compared to the normal scopes, for example, calibrated for 5.56 whatever. Here you can tell that the VSS is supposed to shoot subsonic ammunition all the time, there is no supersonic round, so that means that the bullet is really heavy and it falls quite quickly. Also the influence of the wind, of the side wind on the bullet, it's quite significant, as you can tell by those hash marks. So first it's this point, and this is your 100 meter zero. It's a little bit counterintuitive when you take these types of scopes for the first time, look through them. Instinctively you want to put the point of aim into this point, because this is like naturally the cross, but no, you need to use this upper one. So this dot is your 100 meter zero. Then it become a little bit more complicated. So the top of this line, it's your 200 meter point of aim. The bottom of this line, it's your 250 meter point of aim. That means that when you shoot, for example, on 230 meters, you would be aiming somewhere in the middle of this one. Here we have the top of this line is your 275 meter reference point. Then the middle of this cross is your 300 meter. The bottom of this line is 325 meters. Then we have top of this line, which is 350 meters. The bottom is 375 meters. And the tip of this arrow pointing from down, it's your 400 meter zero, which is also like the maximum distance on which the VSS can be used effectively. I personally think that it's a bit less, but yeah, this is your last 400 meter reference point. So basically 100 meter, 200 meter top here, 300 meter here, the cross, and 400 meter here, and of course then all the reference points in between. And these are for your windage, so you can see just how massive are the differences. In my opinion, actually very usable, because the zeroing, the point of aim, it's very fine, very readable. So we need to keep in mind that this is not your quick reaction point shooting scopes. These are, as VSSM is, a sniper rifle scopes, and it's a little bit counterintuitive because the distances are of course very short for sniper rifle, but we need to keep in mind this is sniper rifle, VSS, and also those scopes are sniper rifle scopes. Now let's talk a little bit about use of these night vision scopes in general. Of course your thermal will be always superior, but especially now with the use of the camouflage suits, or more accurately anti-thermal side suits. For example, we have the ones from Saab, Swedish ones, professional ones. Also Russians have professional ones and improvised ones. Anyway, those suits will not exactly give out your thermal signature, or only very lightly, very partially, also depending on the surrounding temperature. But you will just not see the signature that well in thermal scopes. That's where these night vision scopes come into play, because these suits tend to be really bulky, especially the improvised ones, so the thermal signature might just not be there. Then you look with night vision scopes, then you see some very weird pointy object in the tree line around the field, and yeah, you can really tell the difference between the thermal and between the night vision. And that's also how we were using the mixture of thermal and night vision scopes during the reconnaissance generally, because always you have both devices available and you take a look through both devices before making the decision. For example, when we're talking directional mines, MON series, MON 50, 90, 100, MON 200, those are very often planted in the tree lines or around the buildings during urban fighting. With thermals, you might actually not see them properly. Then you look through the night vision scopes, and you can very clearly see the circle being placed anywhere in the crowns of the trees in the tree lines. I already mentioned the zeroing process during a day. It's absolutely no problem, totally doable, just a little bit of contrast into the target. Let's say you take white paper, you put it on the dark background, and then it's absolutely no problem to see it properly and zero it. Also, the tubes inside this device are actually of the Western standard. So in theory, let's say that you would get 2 of those damaged devices, extract the tubes, and you can put them in Western housing. So for example, Act in Black DT NVS, you would take 2 of those tubes and you can actually put them in. And also you can, for example, take this device and put some very Gucci L3 white phosphor tube, and it will work as well. At least that's my information. Anybody who have more information, please clarify in the comments. One misunderstanding that also Russian army got wrong, it's not exactly about this device, but it's about the 1PN141-2, which is night vision scope that is supposed to go on your AK-74, is that the troops can actually operate at night properly, meaning moving around. That's impossible with device like this. Yes, you can take a look at the route, you can take a look in some further distances, plan the road, check the road, but then you still need to walk without your night vision, right? So this is very much a static position type of device. It's cool in a night to take a sector, just stare in the scope, turn it on off, don't let any light to escape through here, right, to shine on your face, and you can function like that properly. Move troops equipped only with the night vision like this, especially being 4-power 1, it's just very hard to do. What is definitely a possibility, and how we done it once upon a time as well, when only very few people, for example only team leader, had actually proper PVS 14, is that the rest of the team have devices like this. And more than checking your sectors, just in case that you lose the guy in front of you, you just look in the weapon mounted thermal or weapon mounted night vision, and it usually helps you to find the guy, and you basically link up back together. Problems with these devices: they are generally very rugged, but there are few rules and few things that you need to keep in mind. First thing is that there is the protection against damage by the sunlight. So very often people during a day just checking the night vision before going out, even in cases where they have the cap on and there is really a lot of sun, the device just shut down because it's protecting itself against the damage, and people then complain, claiming that their night vision doesn't work. So always just double check in some dark room if it's really that case. Second, and the most common thingy, is that you need to use Duracell batteries for this one. You put the Duracell battery because it's just a little bit more rugged, and the recoil tends to destroy normal batteries, and then you might actually destroy even this device when the battery actually leak inside. And always you need to take the cap and make it as tight as possible, so there is no rattle of the battery inside and no shutting off during firing. If you like this device, hopefully by the time this video will be up, those devices should be available to purchase on my Instagram page, all caps valgear_YouTube on Instagram, and there we listing some of those very interesting trophies that, yes, were supposed to be in reference collection, but given the current situation, we basically need the funds to finance our further endeavors. So thank you very much guys for watching. If you wish to support us, you can use the PayPal link down below or become YouTube member for extra videos.